Oh. Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. We are about to start our 1,000 Robes for a Better Europe conference. Yes. Yes? Okay. Thank you. For those of you who don't already know me, my name is Dorotę Zabłudowską. I'm a judge, member of the board of the Polish Judges Association IUSTITIA. I'm very pleased to have you all here in this historic building and in this very historic moment. So on behalf of IUSTITIA, I would like to welcome you all to this place and to this conference, 1,000 Robes for a Better Europe. Of course, this is the meeting of the European Association of Judges, so I give the floor to Mr. Mikaela Sjoberga.
Okay. Thank you, Dorotę. I don't think I have to present myself, but anyway. Well, dear friends, on behalf of the European Association of Judges, I welcome you to this conference. I think the title of the conference is perfect. 1,000 Robes March for a Better Europe. Many of us attended this march 4 years ago. I met the press this afternoon and I told them how impressive it was to walk through the cold streets of Warsaw with colleagues from 20 different countries, with 1,000 Polish colleagues in black robes, and with thousands of people in the streets. I can still, when I talk about it, I almost freeze. Yes.
It is quite cold now.
It is quite cold. Yes, we're standing in front of the window. Anyway, when we got this invitation 2 years ago in Tel Aviv, I said to myself, well, going to Poland, are we going to have another 1,000 Robes March? What will happen? Because no one then knew what has happened. I mean, would we have a system where everything erode again? Or would we face a new government, a new minister, who hasn't shown up yet? No, no. I would have addressed him.
He was here in the morning.
He was here in the morning, yes. Anyway, a new government, a new majority in the parliament. And to be honest, I am, from my position, very positive and optimistic on behalf of you. I heard a lot this morning about all the new legislation you will pass in a year or two, and I must say I'm amazed. But at the moment, I'm very optimistic, and I wish you a very good conference. Thank you.
Thank you. So the 1,000 Robes March was not only a demonstration, it was also an obligation. And I think that today, tomorrow, when we talk, we'll think about how to fulfill that obligation to the people of Poland and to the people of Europe. But for now, let us see how it was when the march walked the streets of Warsaw. Poproszę o film.
Just to be sure.
What does it mean?
Yes.
Right to Europe,
yes.
Right to independence.
Tam są prośby postępowań dyscyplinarnych, wydalenia ze służby.
But what we are really saying is these rights belong to citizens.
Proszę Państwa, zapraszam sędziów, którzy mają założone togi i prawników, którzy mają togi założone jak najbliżej samochodu z nagłośnieniem. Zapraszam również gości z zagranicy, sędziów z zagranicy. Te osoby będą tworzyły kolumny marszu, a w dalszej części kolumny zapraszamy wszystkich obywateli.
To jest wchodzenie w autorytaryzm. Krok po kroku wchodzimy w system, który w ogóle nie chroni praw jednostki, który niszczy wolności obywatelskie. Widzimy to gołym okiem. Są wyłączane poszczególne bezpieczniki. Nie ma już Trybunału Konstytucyjnego, który by powiedział władzy, nie wolno ci wprowadzać takiego prawa, które niszczy obywatela, które daje nam władzę nieograniczoną.
Od 5 lat w Polsce jest taki oficjalny przekaz ze strony sceny politycznej o tym, że się reformuje sądy. Ale tak naprawdę nie reformuje się sądów, tylko niszczy się sędziów, niszczy się niezależność sądów.
Doszliśmy do ściany. Po prostu my jako prawnicy, środkami prawnymi, pytaniami prejudycjalnymi, orzeczeniami, nie byliśmy, zresztą dalej nie jesteśmy w stanie już nic więcej zdziałać.
Jest prezes z powołania ministra, sąd dyscyplinarny z powołania ministra, Krajowa Rada Sądownictwa z powołania polityka, też ministra. Nie ma już Trybunału, nie ma Sądu Najwyższego. Pytanie, jak długo jeszcze? Ile wytrzymamy?
Dziękuję Wam, że jesteście z nami, że jesteście zdeterminowani. Dziękuję Wam za Waszą mądrość.
Judges are normally very silent.
Judges like to hear more than speak.
Myślę, że każdy sędzia tak ma. Że założenie togi na ulicy to jest trochę jak świętokradztwo, że to się nie mieści w głowie.
It has never happened like this before. I have never been out in the streets in my gown.
What's happening here is so exceptional that you can't just sit and wait behind your desk.
Dzisiaj mamy przedstawicieli prawie wszystkich krajów europejskich.
Poland is a country in the heart of the European Union. Independence of judges is one of the core values on which the European Union is built.
You need to be sure that EU citizens have a right to present their case to an independent and impartial judge.
Judicial independence is fundamental to the rule of law. The rule of law is fundamental to freedom. Freedom is fundamental to the protection of every citizen.
When law is gone, we cannot be citizens anymore, and we have, in the last instance, no protection.
Ludzie się też uczą, że to są ich sądy, że powinni mieć wpływ na to, kto za tym stołem sędziowskim siedzi.
Każdy Polak, każdy Europejczyk ma prawo do niezależnego sądu i po to tutaj jesteśmy. Szliśmy nie przeciwko tej czy innej partii. Szliśmy przeciwko zmianom systemowym, które mogą dotyczyć kolejnych pokoleń Polaków.
I myślę, że ludzie zobaczyli, że my na serio walczymy. Że mogą na nas liczyć i że jesteśmy naprawdę twardzielami. Że my możemy zawalczyć o te sądy, nie kłaniamy się politykom.
To było takie wręcz euforyczne, powiedziałabym, poczucie jedności.
I ta toga to był taki nasz mundur. Poczuliśmy się wtedy jak jakaś armia praworządności.
The politics currently driven by the government of Poland undermines the fundamental independence of the legal system as such.
Ja mogę być sędzią w sytuacji takiej, kiedy rzeczywiście mogę być prawdziwym sędzią. Jeżeli mam być udawanym sędzią, to po co być takim sędzią?
If the government starts to restrict and punish judges for doing their work, it is a serious attack on the independence of judges.
Ta ustawa pozwala politykom wyrzucać sędziów i zabierać im głos. Nie zgadzamy się na to, żeby politycy decydowali o treści wyroków wydawanych w Polsce.
Polski sędzia jest dzisiaj pozbawiony jakichkolwiek gwarancji. Tak naprawdę zdany jest tylko na własną odwagę, na własną mądrość, na własną siłę charakteru.
I teraz pytanie, czy jesteś w stanie sam stanąć przeciwko państwu? Czy jesteś w stanie sam zawalczyć z machiną państwową? W moim przekonaniu nie masz szans. Nawet jak jesteś najlepszym sędzią świata, to po prostu cię zmiażdżą.
I'm very impressed by the Polish judges because I can go back home tomorrow and pick my life up and I'm here today and that's it.
They don't know what's going to happen next week because of the fact that they took part today and they do that.
Chcę powiedzieć, że są też tacy, którzy nie szli z nami. Nie dlatego, że nie chcieli, ale dlatego, że nie mogli. Taką osobą jest na przykład Murat Arslan, sędzia turecki, obrońca praworządności skazany na 10 lat pozbawienia wolności na podstawie sfingowanych zarzutów.
I went to bed as a judge and in the morning I woke up as a terrorist. They declared me as terrorist and they dismissed me when I was sleeping. I know what it is to live in a country where rule of law is destroyed. I know how painful it is to lose democracy and rule of law, and I know what it is, what kind of a feeling it is to feel, to see that it's too late.
Czy naprawdę jako Polacy chcemy u nas podobnego scenariusza? Czy chcemy zlikwidowania trójpodziału władzy i wyprowadzenia nas z Unii Europejskiej?
If the rule of law becomes threatened and is put under stress, it is a process which can continue.
Když začne hořet soudcův dům, tak co udělají ti ostatní? Vyběhnou ven a začnou hasit. Proto, aby tomu sousedovi pomohli a taky proto, aby nechytil jejich vlastní dům.
Without values of democracy, values of independence, values of free speech, there is no European Union. And if Poland left European Union,
Dziękuję Państwu z całego serca za przybycie. Bardzo Państwu dziękuję.
Please, Iwona, Kacper, join us. Kacper, Iwona, we would like to show you the people who made it possible for you to see this.
Proszę Państwa, bardzo dziękuję. Proszę o zajęcie.
Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats. Thank you very much. We have with us the ones who made this film, Iwona and Kacper Lisowski. I'm really moved by this video, and it's good that we can have a seat because it's really moving. But I think it's the best video I've seen, and those are our friends. They've been with us all the time. They've been with Polish judges. You have been with us all the time for all those years, and for all those years, seconds, hours, and so on of being with us. I would like to thank you for that. Thank you for creating this video. Thanks to your work, we become stronger. I think this is a strength that can be given to others who are in a worse situation than we were a couple of years ago. Thank you. Thank you. But this reward, this invitation to this conference, I see it, perceive it as the recognition of our achievements, and it's been possible thanks to all our citizens who were here, who are standing behind us, behind those judges. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great honor that such a short video is shown in the building of the Senate of the Republic of Poland. I remember our march here in Warsaw, where we didn't have any hope for any change as regards the judiciary in Poland. So we are glad that you saw this video. It has shown the strength of our civil society, and that we really want to live in a state governed by the rule of law. So we continue supporting all our legal experts, judges, and people who contribute to restoring this rule of law in Poland. We are very optimistic about our future. Thank you very much.
I should add that this is just a short film, but there is also the full-time film called Judges Under Pressure. Those of you who have not seen it, I strongly recommend you to see it, to find out, to bring it to your courts and your judges, so that they witness what you've witnessed here and we witnessed over the last 8 years, and to share his reflection on what happened and what is about to come. Please come forward, Judge Krystian Markiewicz, the President of the Polish Judges Association, IUSTITIA.
Szanowny Pan Prezes Durosesa.
Dear President Durosesa, Mikaela Sjoberga, Jose Igreja Matos, ladies and gentlemen. But first of all, let me say something that was already said by Sabine, which is, yes, we have won, thanks to you all. I would like to thank you all for that. Thank you very much. Dear friends, we've known each other for a couple of years or so. The video showed the 11th of January of 2020. It was almost 4 years ago when we were there in the streets of Warsaw, saying that we had the right for independence, for Europe, the right for Europe. Those were the most important sentences, and we gathered judges from 29 states of Europe. There were also prosecutors, other lawyers, legal counselors, barristers, and so on, all of them in robes. 30,000 citizens of Warsaw supported us during this march. And every person coming to such a march will represent millions of people fighting for this cause in different places in the world. This was said by Murat Arslan. And so many years, and he's still in prison. He's been put in jail by the Turkish regime, and of course he's been fighting for the same values, and now he's suffering because of that. He and his family are suffering because of that, and also in other countries, as other judges suffer in Hungary and Tunisia, in Israel, in Slovakia. And the third word which would be mentioned at that time was also solidarity. We were there together in order to fight for our values, for the rule of law, supporting each other. This was really something exceptional, and it was exceptional for me and for you too. I'm convinced that it was also exceptional. We started from the Supreme Court, and we stopped not far from here, just close to the Parliament. Here where we are, it's the very heart of Polish parliamentarism. At that time it was really cold, but I'm sure that we were able to melt ice. In September of 2022, during this session of our International Judges Association in Tel Aviv, I suggested that the session of the European Association of Judges takes place in Poland. So as I was fully optimistic at that time, and knowing when the elections, parliamentary elections would take place, I then assumed that I would welcome you in free Poland, a Poland who treats seriously this right for independence, that the parliament, who at that time was surrounded by us, would be now open to us. This was my dream at that time. I was dreaming about this kind of country, of Poland, and I would envy all those from such important officials from other countries, from Israel, as Knesset stood open to us, as did Israel's Supreme Court. Much has changed in Israel. The struggle for the rule of law in the country is ongoing. People took the streets in Tel Aviv to defend the independence of the courts. There were transparencies saying that it's not Warsaw, it's not Budapest. Now we are in Warsaw, in this building of the parliament. But I cannot yet invite you to the Supreme Court, which has basically been taken over by political factors. But next time we will meet, we'll be there. I say this because I want to show that everything is changing. What we envied is becoming, our colleagues from Israel, for example, those beautiful places, venues, streets, is becoming now an arena for violent struggle. States where it seemed the rule of law was firmly established, the tripartite division of power is tottering in the foundations. It's clear that the March of Thousands Tóg is moving on through other states in anticipation of the universal rule of law of a united solidarity-based Europe. However, it's important to draw some lessons from this sad experience. We need, first of all, universal civil education at school level. This awareness of civil society is indispensable so that everyone knows how important the rule of law is. This is important because no politician dares to attack something that is strong in the eyes of the public. If you want to defend the rule of law, let's talk about it. Let's educate from school level. Secondly, I consider that a European justice system is needed, with courts that are efficient, modern and fair. Courts with judges who are appointed in accordance with the law, who are wise, who are undaunted, independent, and what's important, who are prepared to fight for these values. It has to be a system that is open to civil society, because once again, then we will regain public trust and be stronger. No politician will attack us, because we will be stronger. Thirdly, we should develop standards for the court established by law and the administration of justice. We've been talking about it today during our conference. Political oversight of the courts should be completely abandoned in Europe. Instead, a system of non-political governance should be introduced. Coexistence with other authorities should be based on the tripartite division of power and the principle of cooperation, respecting the independence of courts. Fourth, we should ensure that the functioning of the states and the European Union respects the law and the courts. It must not be the case that politicians have chosen which judgments to enforce and which not to. Of course, if those are judgments that come from a court that meets all the requirements and not from political parties. We cannot accept a situation in which the European Commission chooses which rulings of the CJEU it wants to respect. The Commission should have to and not to be able to act in defense of the treaties and the rule of law. It's wrong when standards concerning the court are judged differently by the court in Luxembourg. Some standards concerning courts shouldn't be differently judged by the tribunal in Strasbourg and the tribunal in Luxembourg. In a situation where the the court in Luxembourg lowers the bar for this protection, although it was supposed to raise other requirements. Fifth, as judges, we should be better represented at the EU level. We shouldn't be only the reviewers of what the politicians do. An old rule, doctor's rule, say that it's better to prevent than to treat. So we know we should keep fighting for the standards, for our values. March. The march goes on. March, a symbol of victory and hope. So I'm really glad that it was the reward of our association was named after that, and the movement of judges fighting for independence in Tunisia are named after this movement. And I'm really glad that the International Association of Judges has sent a request to UN Secretary General to establish the 11th of January as the International Day for Judicial Independence, the March of Thousands Robes. This will be our celebration, not related to some failure, but this will be a symbol of pride and victory. We count on your support, the support of you all, and the support of our authorities. And a lot has changed. We are in the Senate. I took part in this session of the Senate. The Minister of Justice will join us soon, so we started acting, and I like a normal state, so great opportunities ahead of us. So we will not let you down. Dear friends, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to thank you for years of support, for being with us, for every form of support, for phone calls, emails, resolutions, proclamations, legal assistance, for sharing your experiences, for coming within a couple of hours, you were able to be here to legitimate authorities of the Supreme Court for expressing your disagreement with the appropriation of the National Council of the Judiciary by politicians, for your support before the European courts, before the European Commission, for marching through the streets of Warsaw in January and giving us all strength, and for succeeding, of course, and for being with us today in a different, better Poland. Thank you very much for all this. You can count on us, on our support. I hope you know that. Thank you once again. We will be together, and thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, I will just speak for a while, but I'd like to remind you of something. On the 11th January 2020, that's the day on which the march took place, one of the judges gave a speech after me, and he said the following things at the march. For many years, this march will be remembered. Never before have so many countries and judges from different legal systems and cultures have come together on one day in one place for such an unequivocal purpose. We have come together to say that it is our duty to apply European law regardless of restrictions of other authorities. All lawyers from all across Europe confirmed this. And he finally said that the authorities of Europe must hear the strong voice, not only of the Polish judges, but also of the European judges, the voice of the citizens gathered here. Let me add, we judges will defend the rule of law instead of the law of the law. We will apply the rule of law and not the law of the people. So this day has come. It is the time. The judges have spoken, and then he added, just whispering into the ear, but I may repeat it, that everything will be fine, that we could always count on him, and that we would win. As you may guess, I mean here our president is Dorotę Zabłudowską, the honorary president of the International Association of Judges. That is the man who kept his promise, because we indeed could always count on him, because we won, and there is a prospect that the situation will be good. 1,000 Rose March, it was not just one time when you were in Poland. I had a pleasure and honor to meet you many times, and you always infected us with your warmth, wisdom, and smile. You never kept us waiting for you. You traveled all over the world, but you were always close to Poland. We felt your support as the president of EAJ, then IAJ, now the honorary president, and simply a friend of Polish judges. And now, let me in this venue, in this situation, to thank you so much. I'd like to say that in the House of Polish Judges you're always welcome, and please don't worry, because Fatima, of course, is also welcome here in Poland. So congratulations, and this is kind of honorary thanks to our friends for his help, for the fact that he is with us.
All the Polish judges, the smiles are genuine, and it was so nice to gather pictures of judges smiling instead of having this card, we support this or that person. So a thank you is a very nice change. So thank you, José, very much.
Well, I always get emotional after this, and also embarrassed, to be honest, because this is not for me. This is for all of you. I never felt alone. The European Association of Judges was always one. the judges from all the countries when I was back in 2020. We organized 20 countries to come to Warsaw in a few hours. It was an effort, tremendous effort, but everyone came. Everyone was, okay, I will go. Not only judges. I see a person here that I would like to be recognized. He did so much. He was the president of the European Network for Councils of Judiciary, Keith Turk. That was so important for our fight. And I ask a round of applause for him. So this was a collective effort. That's why I feel embarrassed to be here now. And if I may, I would like to say 3 or 4 things rapidly. Can I do it, or I do it after?
You have 15 minutes.
Okay, okay.
Just let us know. We'll sit down and you can talk.
Okay, thank you.
No. You stay.
I can
stay. You
okay,
stay.
okay. Well, I have no paper, as you can see. I didn't prepare no particular words for now. I will speak with the heart. I always do that, actually. I try to speak with the heart always. But I'd like to say first, listen to Christian's speech. Poland has suffered so much for these years. Now we are here in a day of joy, in a day of victory. And that's good, that's wonderful to be in the Senate. But Christian, like Dorotę, they always speak about others. They mentioned Murat Arslan, still in jail today. My friend of many of us. He always speak about those who are in struggle. And this is something that is really, really touching, because you suffer so much. You have now this victory by elections in a democratic way. Now we are here in the Senate. The Minister of Justice is with us, and you are still talking about others. And that was the first thing that struck me when I hear your speech. Murat Arslan, Tunisia, Amas Mehdi, all the others that are always in our minds, because the struggle for judicial independence is a never-ending story, as you know. The second thing that I would like to share with you was, let's make a fast forward. 2023. I was the president, not of the European, but of the International Association of Judges. We were commemorating 70 years of life, the biggest organization in the world for the judiciary, 7 decades, and we wanted to do something different. So we made a video. We asked many people, former presidents, normal judges, members of the board, whatever, study commission, so important for us, to make a short video. And when I was preparing my own video, I thought, what can I say? And immediately, it was like an epiphany, to be honest. Immediately I felt that this old lady, this old Polish lady, when I arrived to Warsaw, I thought it would be a gathering of judges from different countries, perhaps 200 or 300 judges from Poland. It will be around the Supreme Court, something like elite, you can say that, the elite of the lawyers, people from the world of courts and justice. The first astonishment for me was when I started to walk in the streets and I saw all these people around us. For me, was something that was really impressive. I never thought that could happen, that in the context like ours. I remember to be in European Parliament, and European parliamentarians said, judicial independence, what an exotic topic you bring us. And then all these people there. And there was this old lady coming to me. I was walking, she came to me, 70, 75, holding a constitution in the hand, And she started to say, dziękuję, dziękuję, dziękuję. She embraced me. I tried to talk with her. She speak a little bit English. We entertained a 2 minutes conversation. I saw in her eyes, she was emotional. She was crying. She remembered me back before Solidarność, back before the democratic times. She was afraid of what will happen. And then I thought, when I was making the video 3 years after, I must speak about this lady. And each time I'm in these international commitments, each time I am in my court, actually, I always think that my role model, the person that symbolically represents the person that is my boss, if you want, is this old lady. She represents the people. And that is why, if you see the video, it's available online, I will speak about this story, about the dziękuję, dziękuję, dziękuję moment. That was, for me, most impressive, perhaps one of the most, not professional, personal moment. And finally, I would like to say that not even in my wildest dreams, I thought that 4 years later, we are here in the Senate speaking freely. It was amazing. We never had this experience. You have done a tremendous work. Christian said it. The secret is to get civil society with us, judicial education, to try to show to the people that judicial independence is not for us. It's not for us judges. It's much more easy, in fact, if we comply with the system, we will be promoted, we will have better salaries. At the end of the day, it's even better for us, but we are not judges anymore. And to see civil society going, especially the younger generations, going to vote, and to say we need to change this state of things, I never saw coming in 4 years. And this is a victory for us, and it should be also something of a leadership for so many countries that are now struggling. A final word to thank you all. It was an experience of a lifetime to be involved in the board. I'm still in presidential committee, but I'm being a relic now. It's an has-been, as I like to say. It was much, much more what I received from you that I gave to you. That's, for me, it's undeniable. Thank you.
So, somehow, when José speaks, I always have tears in my eyes. I don't know how he does it. We are a bit ahead of time, so as a surprise to the schedule, I would like Hashtag to take the floor and share his impressions with us. Out of your heart, without preparing, come. After all, you're a member of Iustitia. I heard you say so today.
Well, Dorotę, after Jose, it's almost impossible to speech, of course. It's like talking after people having lunch. And then you have to try to get the attention of the people. What do I want to say? I said this morning, I said in 2015, I got an invitation to come to Warsaw because there was a strange letter of the president of the KRS at the time saying we might be in trouble. Help. And I remember talking about this in the Dutch Council for the Judiciary, and we said, have you seen this strange letter? What should we do? Well, what should we do? And one said, well, we cannot ignore it, you know. We are the co-founders of the ENCJ. So what I said, yes, well, that's not a good reason. They say, help. We have to go there, see what's going on. And so we went, and we had to see what was going on. Because we didn't know what, you know, I do not speak the language, still do not speak the language, sorry for that. What's going on? Who's right? Who's wrong? And I remember that I went with the Dutch ambassador to the Ministry of Justice. And we had a conversation there because the Dutch example was used in the Polish law. They said, well, we just want to introduce the Dutch system. And we came there a little bit naive. We said, we just want to explain that you're not introducing our system. Please do not use our name for this. And we thought, naive as we were, we thought that they would change it. But then there was this deputy minister of justice looking at me, and he said, we know what your system is, but we'll use your name anyway. And that was for me the turning point to know that this government, the former government, was not okay. And this changed also the attitude of the Dutch Council for the Judiciary, saying, okay, we do not only go there to know what's going on, but now we must be active and fight with them, because it is in our own interest to do so. And I want just to remember one thing more. There was this decision to send the first president of the Supreme Court on with the pension. And we decided overnight to come to Warsaw with the president of the Supreme Court, our president of the Supreme Court, and another colleague in the international division. And we said, we go there. And, but we didn't know what to expect. So we sent one of the members of the staff up front to see whether there was police activity there or not. You never know, you know. And our communications department, they arranged a lot of press. And the president of our Supreme Court said, I will not do the talking because I'm the president of the Supreme Court. That is dangerous. You must do the talking. They said, okay, I do the talking, but I will only say one thing. And the thing I said constantly to every journalist on every television screen, when they asked, what are you going to do? I said, we are here to pay our respect to the first president of the Supreme Court. And this was enough. This was the message. This was the message to the government and the message to the judges. We support you all the way. And I'm so happy here to be as part of the celebrations to see that only not we are friends in sadness and in struggle and in fight, but we are also friends when there are joyful times, and also friends and supporters in building a better judicial system here in Poland. So that is I can talk forever. Not so bad, not so good as Jose, but this is important. This is important for me. It's important for you. It's important for all of us. Thank you very much.
So this is the meeting of the European Association of Judges, but we must not forget that this is part of a bigger organization, which is the International Association of Judges, and we are very happy and honored to have with us the president and the vice president of the association. I would like you to warmly welcome Mr. Juro Sesa, who will share with us some of his thoughts.
I thought it would be later, but so distinguished Mr. Minister, dear friends, colleagues, we all here from judicial community of judges feel almost like Poles. Of course, nobody can beat Lydia, which you know, but still, in these years, staying arm in arm with Polish judges make us one of you. And saying this, it is a great privilege and honor to speak today in front of you. There is no better place to speak about this issue than under the spirit of this conference, which not only through its title, but through the struggle which stays behind it, is representing what sometimes is necessary to do to preserve rule of law and independence of judiciary. Unfortunately, in the sense of principle of independence of judiciary, today nobody is safe. And this very moment around the globe. Europe, but also all over the world, International Association of Judges, as the largest association of judges in the world, bringing together 92 national judges associations from Canada to Chile, from Norway to South Africa, from Iceland to New Zealand, is witnessing that principles of independence of judges, impartiality of judiciary, separation of powers, and ultimately rule of law are fragile instruments, took in many states and by most citizens as something as is self-evident, something what nobody will ever put in jeopardy after terrible experiences citizens around the globe had with totalitarian regimes in the 20th century. We are witnessing how little it is needed to depart from those principles and how it is difficult to bring back rule of law in the lap of the citizens, and how it sometimes is difficult to persuade citizens how important it is. In a survey EIJ conducted some years ago, member associations were asked to indicate what are the most serious problems in the justice sector. Most associations, in the increasing order of importance, indicated insufficient budget and allocation for justice, excessive workload, inadequate working conditions, insufficient remuneration, including pensions, problems concerning external independence, problems concerning internal independence, lack of trust in judiciary, problems of communication with civil society, problems with the management of the courts, insufficient protection of the personal safety of judges. Let me illustrate this with some examples, because they will better than anything else speak about risks we are facing at this very moment. What is going on in Europe, it will be the Michael's task. In Tunisia, on Sunday, February 6, 2022, President of Tunisia announced a dissolution of the Supreme Council of Judiciary, which is a guarantor of proper functioning of justice and respect for its independence, in order to replace it with a provisional body to establish by the presidential decree. International association protested harshly with several resolutions, but for now without any result. In Guinea, Mohamed Diawara, president of the Association of Judges of Guinea, has been unjustly suspended from his duties only because he was president of the association. In Afghanistan, in an act of brazen discrimination, the Taliban have attempted to effectively ban all women, including women judges, prosecutors, and lawyers, from participating in the legal system. Among those removed were more than 220 women judges, which is over 10% of the bench before the Taliban takeover. Due to threats to their security, many women judges have fled the country or gone on hiding. Women lawyers have been unable to seek a renewal of their licenses and requirement imposed by Taliban, and therefore cannot practice law in this system. Many women judges were chased by Taliban. Some were killed simply because they were judges performing their duties, and some managed to escape Afghanistan with great involvement of many international organizations where EIJ significantly contributed. In Yemen, a member of the Yemen Judges Club has recently been removed from his home and nobody knows where he is. In Sri Lanka, Supreme Court issued an interim order to the Secretary Minister of Finance and the Attorney General, but the Parliament asked State Minister of Finance not to obey the judges' rulings. In Puerto Rico, Parliament yet did not approve new law on the salaries of judges. So judges in Puerto Rico could not have risen their salaries for 20 years. That sounds familiar. In Guatemala, criminalization against judges without cause is taking place through the instrumentalization of criminal process. 24 judges are in exile because of their work as independent judges. In Brazil, Supreme Court premises were invaded. In Ecuador, murder of Ecuadorian judge Dr. Nelson Patricio Yanes Paredes occurred in the city of Lago Agrio. In Paraguay, the attack on home 2 judges took place in the early morning of September 9, 2023. In Colombia, there were attacks on the facilities of the judges' offices in some cities. United States, there is 3 million pending cases on immigration courts around the country. Judges who are attached to those cases, about 500 cases per judge. In July 2020, U.S. District Court Judge Esther Sales and her husband were celebrating their son's 20th birthday when a man posing as a delivery driver came to their front door and shot her dead. Her husband was also critically wounded. In Canada, there is a big concern about security of judges. In Kiribati, a small Pacific island state, Justice David Lumbon, the High Court of Kiribati, an Australian citizen, is facing suspension from office because he decided against the wishes and expectations of executive which jeopardize the integrity of the Kiribati judicial system. As you can see, I said at the very beginning of my intervention that nobody is safe. There are no states in the judicial system in the world who are not at the risk, because nobody can guarantee that at some point in time there will be enough political will to depart from well-established principles of independence of justice. Judges cannot fight alone. They need support, understanding, and cooperation with citizens, because this is fight for them, if they will understand that. Thank you for your attention.
It was indeed a very scary speech, actually. To tell you the truth, I got an email from the Secretariat yesterday maybe, and I thought, well, where Kiribati is, what's this place? So when I tried to Google it, it was basically invisible on the map. And still there is a judge there who is being supported by the international community of judges. I thought it was great that we stand together for the independence of the judges. And as has been said many times today, we are very proud and honored to be able to hold this very meeting in the Senate of the Republic of Poland in cooperation with the other 2 powers, embodied in one person, a very special person, someone who always spoke for the weak, always spoke for the people and for the citizens, first as the Ombudsman of Poland and now as a Senator and the Minister of Justice, Mr. Adam Bodnar.
Ladies and gentlemen, honorable guests of this great and important conference, it is my pleasure to be here with you. First of all, I would like to thank you very much for your support to the Polish judiciary and to the Polish democracy. I think that it was not just a question of your involvement in the March of 1,000 Ropes, but I remember well that quite often we could count on resolutions of both International and European Association of Judges, on the support of the European network of the Councils of Judiciary, as long especially as the Polish National Council of Judiciary was part of this structure, as well as by this, I would say, general friendship and cooperation and show of solidarity when Polish judges and Polish civil society were fighting for the survival of democratic values. I think what was especially important, irrespectively of solidarity to those who were subject of pressure, reprisals, disciplinary proceedings, criminal proceedings, who were suspended as judges, who were subject of numerous disciplinary cases. There was, I would say, one part. It was like, let's say, human solidarity phase of your tremendous support. But I think there was another side, which was a pressure on European Union institutions as well as on international organizations. Please look that right now we can say that, okay, we have so many judgments of the ECHR, of the Court of Justice of the European Union, European Commission was active, there is the conditionality procedure, the EU Recovery Fund has been suspended with respect to Poland. But basically, what I remember from those years, especially from more or less 2017, 2018 and afterwards, is that European Commission especially was always looking what is the position of other fellow judges from other EU member states, but also from the whole world. And this basically your statements, your resolutions gave a legitimacy to the European Union, especially to the European Commission and later on to the Court of Justice of the EU, to be much more courageous in defending rule of law, in shaping standards of judicial independence than we could expect. Just remember, when Commission was dealing with the case of reprisals against Hungarian judges in 2012-2013, this case has been dealt as a case of discrimination due to age. A couple of years later, thanks to the case of the Association of Portuguese Judges in February 2018, we had the standard that principle of effective legal protection requires the independence of domestic judiciaries, that it is the power of the EU to control what is happening in different EU member states. Later on, thanks to this judgment, Polish judges could start to make preliminary references to the Court of Justice, and thanks to, and Commission also started its own infringement actions, including such infringement actions that right now to us seem like natural, but at that time it was something important for the Commission, like a very important step forward. I mean here especially this moment when the Commission started to question not just single provision, but the whole institution. One of the cases concerned the very existence of the disciplinary chamber of the Supreme Court. And I know really well, because I participated in a number of discussions, that this position of the international judicial community was extremely important in not only supporting us, but also in changing the paradigm of thinking about the EU law and the paradigm of the possible intervention by the Commission and later on also by the European Court of Human Rights. But right now we are in a completely different moment because after 15th October last year, we are in the position of reforming Polish judiciary and bringing back or recovering the rule of law standards. I had this I really like to be presented that I was this ombudsman. Yes, it's a really nice part of the story, but I've made a professional shift, and basically in the middle of last year I have decided to join politics. So I just decided to run for the office of the senator. Then we had elections, so I was part of this winning coalition of the so-called civic coalition, which is right now forming the government. And in November, Prime Minister Donald Tusk has offered me to become the Minister of Justice. So starting from 13th December, I'm in this capacity. My role is to help in bringing in recovery of the rule of law in Poland. And in order to do it, basically we have to pass laws. We have to adopt different pieces of legislation that are repairing what has been damaged over last years. I will not go into details, but more or less this package of legislation consists of the law on the National Council of Judiciary, law on the Supreme Court, on the common organization of courts, on the separation of the office of the Minister of Justice and the Prosecutor General. It is not something I wanted to do, but basically that is what I inherited from Mr. Ziobro, that I'm also Prosecutor General, as long as we would not separate it. And also here also the law on the position of the Polish Constitutional Court. So as you see, that it is quite a job, and there are quite many laws that have to be prepared and passed. I'm quite fortunate that I can count on the support of the judicial community, of judicial associations, especially Iustitia. I'm happy that Professor Christian Markiewicz has accepted a position of the president of the codification committee for the organization of judiciary and the prosecution service, and that this committee is already in full operation, that we can work on those laws, but also we can already have this discussion on certain laws right now in the parliament, and even today, just a couple of minutes ago, the session of the Senate Committee on Rule of Law that was devoted to the law on the National Council of Judiciary has just finished. So some laws are already in progress, some of them are in the pipeline, some of them are in the preparation, but basically we know that it is this very historical moment when we can do things properly. But we have some problems. It's not that easy. Why is it not easy? Because there are some institutional hurdles, institutional obstacles. So first of all, Mr. President claims that everything what has been done over last years is basically okay, and he does not see a problem, or he does not really want to cooperate. Maybe over the time we'll convince him to some of the pieces of legislation, but we don't know it yet. But we have also still the Constitutional Code that has been politically hijacked, and the Constitutional Court which is issuing different judgments, but even yesterday there was a situation when the Constitutional Court made a prior restraint concerning one of the competences of the Polish Parliament, and even the Speaker of the Parliament made an open statement that he's basically disregarding this. So so we are in this moment when there are some decisions, prior restraints, judgments of the Constitutional Court, but simply the level of legitimacy and the level of politicization of the Constitutional Court is so low that even the highest public officials are able to say that we are not going to respect it. And to be honest, nobody from the legal community is that much protesting against this position, because we know well that we have to reform this institution. And furthermore, there is another problem, which is that over those 8 years, Polish judiciary has been filled in with number of judges, number of other people that thought that it was the end of the history. They thought that this system, which is built on the political subordination, which is some kind of a illiberal democracy modeled on Hungary, would last forever. And they were quite surprised that elections gave victory to the democratic opposition, to those that are believing in the EU law and in the rule of law. But their surprise does not mean that they would just, I don't know, want to resign or want to move forward into some, let's say, reforms, but simply they want to do everything what is possible in order to keep the benefits of their involvement into the system. And also it means that simply they do not want to acknowledge that the moral choice, the moral and legal choice they have made between 2017 and 2023, or even some people are doing this choice even still because of the National Council of Judiciary, which is still politically, which is still one of the remnants of this ancien regime. They are still defending basically those positions they have taken. And of course, all of this, so this, let's say, institutional and I would say personal attitude is a difficulty in making those reforms, because you cannot just the legal community cannot agree like this that we have to go forward. You have to overcome those hurdles, and also to a certain extent you have to be patient, because without signature of Mr. President you cannot adopt, you cannot implement certain final pieces of legislation concerning some of those institutions I have mentioned. So maybe, we are in this transition moment, interregnum moment, but maybe this period may last a little bit longer than we expect, but we shouldn't forget that it is this time when we should use our energy as much possible in order to achieve those changes. But hopefully we have some general ideas, what should be our basic principles, how we should follow the course of changes. So first of all, we know well that any change should happen within the limit of law, that we cannot just go in reforming Poland by violating law in any form. So even if it takes longer, we have to do everything in accordance with law, because you cannot make a rule of law recovery with violating legislative provision, which means that we have to be within the limits of the existing legislation, and to, I would say, maybe sometimes a certain surprise, you can take certain advantage of the existing legislation in order to make reforms. Maybe not always it is satisfactory, but there are some possibilities to do it. Second, in a situation of the crisis of the constitutional justice in Poland, we should have some point of departure. So we must have those lighthouses, where to go and what should be our direction. Unfortunately, we have the judgments of the ECHR and the Court of Justice of the EU, as well as Venice Commission recommendations are other international standards how to do it. And having this lighthouse, and also having this, let's say, necessity that especially those judgments should be lighthouse, because we have to implement those judgments that concern Poland, is something which gives us a little bit like the backbone to the process of changes. We think that we should cooperate strongly with international organizations and with some specialized bodies dealing with rule of law and judiciary, such as Venice Commission. Venice Commission, interestingly, is today in Poland, as well with Office for Democratic Institutions and Human Rights of the OSCE. We should be as much transparent as possible in making those changes. We should take advantage of good practices that exist relating the relationship, especially between the executive power and the judiciary. And I would say also, and that is to a certain extent my idea and my personal choice, that I thought that in this process of changes, I should adopt a strategy of self-limitation of my powers and competences. And the good example is that by the virtue of the Polish legislation, once again, I have inherited this legislation from Mr. Ziobro. It is the Minister of Justice that has the power to appoint new presidents of courts. The procedure of dismissing is quite difficult, but still achievable, and I would not go into details, but there are basically some possibilities to dismiss some court presidents, especially if there are some important arguments for the dismissal of court presidents. But the big question is how to appoint the new court president. So the law says that it is the just arbitrary power of the Minister of Justice, but referring to the Venice Commission recommendations, I have decided to make a practice that in any such case, I'm sending a letter to collegia of judges in different courts, asking them, to assemblies of judges of different courts, asking them, please give me candidates for the position of a judge. So give me 2-3 names. Fortunately, Polish courts responded positively to this idea, and right now, just regularly, I receive those recommendations with 2-3 persons being proposed, and out of them, I select just one, the person who is, by all means, gives a credit, gives a trust that this person would be a good primus inter pares, a good court president. And interestingly, once again, this practice is not written into the law. It is something that I started to implement because I thought that that is the way I should do it. And it seems to me that after all those nominations, right now the situation in Polish courts changes nicely, and I hope that more and more Polish judges are not fearful any longer of their court presidents or people that might have any impact on their lives. There are also some possibilities of dealing with disciplinary cases against judges, quite complicated procedures, but still I think we have managed to achieve a certain change. Ladies and gentlemen, these are things that happen. They are going on a daily basis. We are determined to make a change, but we shouldn't forget that the process of transition is not just repairing legislation, repairing practices. It's not just a question of personal policies, but it is also a problem of accountability for past abuses. And this issue is especially complicated when it comes to judges and when it comes to those persons who are contributing, that were helping to build this illiberal system. And we are, I would say, at the beginning of this process of accountability. And there is no, in my opinion, one good method. You cannot say that, criminal accountability should apply to all those persons. You cannot tell that all of them should be subject of disciplinary responsibility. We don't know yet to what extent we should implement some mechanisms like commissions of truth, to what extent transparency as a value is also a method of accountability. But I'm pretty certain that over the course of next weeks, next months, we would create some of those mechanisms, or we would create some kind of a strategy how to make this process of accountability, because we shouldn't forget about this. And once again, it is not about any revenge, because no Polish democratically thinking judge is having any thinking in terms of revenge. It is simply about justice for the damage that has been done to the state. But also it is the accountability for one thing that happened in Poland that was, I would say, especially dramatic and especially painful, especially stressful to people who are in this room, including Christian Markiewicz, Dorota, and others. I mean hate and smear campaign against Polish judges. We had a system in which Polish state, using public money, using public resources, was organizing smear hateful campaigns against Polish judges. And moreover, as we know from the press, there were also people from the Ministry of Justice that were participating in this hate campaign. And right now there is one case which is going forward recently more quicker than ever. That is conducted by the prosecution office, and let's hope that this case would be made properly, and would result in accountability for this hateful abuse. It is just one case, but this case was I think, extremely painful and dramatic to a number of Polish judges and to the whole Polish judicial community. Ladies and gentlemen, I think that when we are thinking about those challenges that we face, we can go into different details, and this conference is also about it, but I think that we should put this whole Polish discussion into the wider picture. Please note that when we look back, we can say that Poland was a little bit a laboratory for checking democratic standards and compliance with those standards, but also it was a laboratory for creating how those standards could be measured, how they could be evaluated. Let's look at the case law of the Court of Justice of the EU on the rule of law and judicial independence. In 2017, it was we could find, just a few judgments that did not really refer to the Polish situation or to the situation in some other countries. Right now, there is like a whole line of jurisprudence of both Court of Justice and the European Court of Human Rights, including the judgment, which is, in my opinion, a little bit like the Bible of the European integration, the judgment of 16 February 2022, Poland against Commission and Hungary against Commission. It was this judgment about the conditionality regulation. Please look into this judgment. It is really like a repetition of what are those most basic values of the European integration. So right now we have it. We have it. Those judgments are important not only for those countries that are subject of that kind of a similar stress tests as Poland was, but also they are important for candidate countries to the EU. But I think that we are right now also in a very special moment, because we are in this moment of not deepening the crisis, but rather going back from the crisis. So we are facing the transition back from illiberal democracy back to the democracy. And as you see, this process of transition is not that easy. It is not that we can make it within a day. We have to be consequent, patient, but we must use our imagination as much as we can in order to do it properly and not to lose our chance. And my feeling is, and maybe you can agree with me, that we are one of the very, very few countries that is facing that kind of a transition period. We are not Latin American country, although sometimes we see some comparisons. And when I was talking with Diego Garcia Sayan, this example of Peru was, and going back from the Fujimori regime, was a little bit similar to Polish situation. But still, what happened in Poland was not a situation comparable to, I don't know, Bolivia or Peru. We are not facing the situation of getting out from the corrupted judiciary. The level of corruption of Polish judges is almost non-existent. It's somehow Polish framers of the constitutional system created a system in which this and efforts of the judiciary that maybe people are making a lot of opportunistic choices, and this change between 2018 and 2023 and those choices made by judges were very much opportunistic in terms of quicker career, better money, and better promotion. But it was not that much but I don't know any single real case that judge would be corrupted for money for making some judgments. So we do not have a problem like a number of countries in the world have, that they are getting out of the problem, but they have to clean up judges from those corrupted judiciary, from those corrupted judges. And finally, what is, I think, our speciality is that the scale of transition is massive. Okay, it is not about a few judges, but it is about more or less 2,000 judges, okay? 2,000 neo-judges, those that got promotion by the National Council of Judiciary after 2018. So we have one nice standard, and you know well this case, Astradsson against Iceland. And government of Iceland was quite quick in resolving the problem of proper system for judicial nominations. But the whole situation concerned 4 judges, okay? The problem for judges, we resolve with judicial associations in one afternoon, okay? We have 2,000, okay, to deal with. And we all the time think how to do it properly in order to make it, to follow basic judicial independence principles and standards of the Court of Human Rights and Court of Justice, but at the same time not to violate the stability of the legal system, not to put Polish citizens in a dramatic situation of some tremendous chaos in the Polish judiciary. But I am certain that if we do it properly, but even in the course of doing this, we are already prepared to share our lesson with other countries. And second, we are prepared and we are ready to show solidarity to all those judges from other countries that are facing that kind of problems that Polish judges were facing. So I'm certain that you can count on Polish judges and on the Polish legal community in case of any troubles that may appear in the future. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Minister. It was a very special speech, and I don't know about you, but I feel reassured about our future, at least. But also remember, and these are very important words that Mr. Minister said in the end, that the Polish lesson is for everybody to learn. So we are ready. The Polish judges, the Polish NGOs, the Polish government, we can share our experience and try to help those who might get in trouble, but also we are very willing to share our experience in order to help you prevent trouble before it happens. Because the best insurance is the one that you never have to use. So let's think about it, how to spread the Polish lesson among the legal society all over Europe, and not only Europe, because as we heard, there are very many problems in the world too. Before I give the floor to Mikael, I have a special message for you from the European Court of Justice, namely Judge Marek Safian, a very special person who sat in this court for very many years and only just retired when he saw that Poland was on the right track. He dared retire from the court. He was supposed to be here, but he couldn't make it to the second conference. He was at the first one, but he wrote you a letter. So I would like you to listen to this. Unfortunately, I do not have Judge Safian's voice, but I'll do my best. Dear colleagues, I extend my warmest greetings and express my deepest gratitude to the European judges for their exceptional solidarity and support for the efforts undertaken over the past 8 years to maintain the rule of law. It is the solidarity of Polish and European judges, along with the unequivocal support from across Europe, that has served as a true inspiration, reinforcing the belief that this fight for the rule of law is the right choice and must continue. The image of European judges marching through the streets of Warsaw has firmly embedded itself in the consciousness of all who are committed to the principles of the rule of law, who understand well the high stakes of this struggle. This image has also resonantly marked the awareness of thousands who witnessed the procession of Polish and European judges. This phenomenon was extraordinary, demonstrating determination and resilience in the quest to restore the rule of law. It is our duty to remember this day and the experiences it brought. These experiences are universal and can and should be utilized by other states facing threats and risks to the values of a democratic rule of law. Europe must remain vigilant and mindful of past experiences, both distant and recent. The threats and risks to the independence of the judiciary are not abstract. They can emerge anywhere, even in countries that appear to have established democracies and strong constitutional formal guarantees for an independent judiciary and the right to effective judicial protection. Not long ago, we are convinced of the strong structure of our democratic institutions and sufficient guarantees for judicial independence in our country. It has become clear that this was a naive stance and that purely normative and formal guarantees are not enough. The structure can prove fragile and vulnerable at any moment, and a high level of civic awareness and a deeply ingrained societal belief in the need to protect fundamental values and principles remain essential. Social support and solidarity across all civic communities are necessary. Today, we are stronger because of these experiences. We must also remember the power of populism and demagogy, that society must always understand why the slogan that appeared at public demonstrations in defense of the courts, "Today we defend you, tomorrow you will defend us," carries a universal message. We must continually be convinced with our attitude that this is indeed the case. This is a message for the future, directed at all judges, to be open to communication with society and never to isolate themselves in an ivory tower. It is also a message about the need for judges to engage in public debate and actively defend the values of the rule of law. Never be indifferent to what is happening around you. Engaging in the defense of the rule of law does not signify political bravery, but stems from the judicial ethos and is a duty for judges who can never stand apart from society, never remain passive. The stance of Polish and European judges is thus a universal message, precisely because it clearly shows that such engagement strengthens both civil society and the judges themselves. It leads to victory. Such engagement has defended Polish democracy, but remember that it often requires many sacrifices and commitments. As a former judge of the European Court of Justice, I must remind you that the rule of law crisis in our part of Europe has better prepared the European Union for such challenges in the future. We have built a true European constitutional identity, common to all states, whose indispensable and essential component remains the independence of the judiciary and judicial impartiality. Without it, there is no rule of law. We have also shown that skillfully utilized European legal instruments can yield very positive results if we know how to use them, how to awaken the hidden mechanisms with enormous potential in the principles and fundamental values of the EU in the Charter of Fundamental Rights. This is also an important lesson from Polish experiences in recent years. Let us remain vigilant and solidary, brave and engaged, never indifferent. These words express the true civic responsibility of judges, forming an essential part of their public mission. Thank you. So now it was the person who had the first words of the conference, and he will also have the last words of the conference. Please welcome again Mr. Mikaela Sjoberga.
Well, thank you. This is like the cherry on top for me. But as Dorotę said, I was the first one, and in contrast to Jose and Keith, I cannot say that I'm unprepared because I was asked to make a speech here. But what I did not acknowledge is that most of the audience is from the IAJ. You're all from the IAJ. So I said to myself, well, I thought there were some people outside because I would present the idea, our ideas and what we are doing. But now when I look over the audience, you are all familiar. So you know it all. So instead of speaking from my manners, I just think I will reflect instead of doing that. But first of all, I will say, Minister, I never envied my Polish colleagues before. They had 8 bad years, but having a minister like you, I must say, I really envy you, Dorotę and Christian. Yes? Well, such a skilled man in front of the judiciary. Well, I think most of us could envy that, but never mind. We have real politicians, I can tell you. As I said to you, this was not my first visit to Warsaw. I've been here several times as judicious guest with Jose and Doro, and we have met before. You don't remember, but I do remember. Then you was an ombudsman, and I've been here in Warsaw with Justitia and a lot of other stakeholders. I will not repeat what I said in the beginning about the march, but you mentioned the old woman, and when I saw the film, I always in my mind recognized a lot of people when we were looking. There was one occasion where I was a little frightened because suddenly the streets were more and more narrow, and suddenly to my right there were a lot of people in black leather. And I said to myself, well, what will they do with us? But they just smiled to us. But I don't know what they were. Yes, I think just like you, they were surprised that we were that many. I think they have guessed, well, that would be 200 or 300 judges. We can knock them down, but they could not. Anyway, who saw the film would see that it was amazing. And though you said, Minister, that this was one event, I will say it was a very, very important event because from the European perspective, we had an opportunity to show our solidarity with you. We have, I've been as vice president, a minor vice president, not the ruling president, but we made resolutions, we have sent letters, usually produced by our special working group and Jose, and after that Doro. But this was an occasion where we could show that we really meant it. So. And I think we showed up in what you can call your darkest hour. You had just handed. I don't know if it was before or after the Muslim law, but it was in that time. But well, Doro talked about the outrageous system we have outside Europe, in South America, and Africa, and even in North America. And it's okay. It's another situation in Europe. We don't have that bad situation, but anyway, let me emphasize that the justice system is challenged here in Europe in many countries, and in too many countries actually it's challenged. And the judiciary is caught between the two other powers. They don't respect us. And I think actually it's remarkable because half of us are members of the European Union. And one of the conditions being member of the European Union is that you have an independent judiciary. So actually many of our countries do not fulfill the conditions. I think it's remarkable. And I really don't look forward to the next European election here because there will maybe some powers who want us to hell. I think so. But the worst example we saw in Europe was in 2016 in Turkey. I know that's outside the Union, but thousands of our colleagues were dismissed and imprisoned overnight. We just saw it in the film there. And none of them are judges anymore. Many are still in prison, and the Turkish Association has been dissolved. And in many other countries, we'll see tomorrow, or we will when I read some of the when we have the minutes from last time, you will say that in Armenia, Moldova, Hungary, Bulgaria, Slovakia, and Spain, it's a very sad situation. So it is with pleasure that we shall not deal with Poland tomorrow. As you said, we have made a lot of resolutions, lots of letters with Poland, and I think it's wonderful, and it gives you some optimistic thoughts that if it, well, maybe there could be another country next year or next time. So, because when we were invited to this, I've said it before, but when we were invited to this meeting in Tel Aviv, nope, none of us, maybe Christian, he said he was optimistic, but okay, Christian, and you were right. But none of us actually knew or had the idea that it would go the way it has gone. A new government, a new minister, and we know that when you have passed the legislation, you will bring Poland back into the good, the good company. And I know that you have got many challenges, Minister, and another challenge which we dealt with this afternoon during the conference is this topic with is it 2,000 or 3,000 judges, neo-judges you have to deal with. To me, it's amazing. We are 400 judges in Denmark. I can't imagine 3,000 judges, how many that is. But I'm sure the way you explained, you will deal with it in the proper way. And you shall know that in one way and another you have our back. So tomorrow, when we have the meeting tomorrow, we will deal with 4 associations who has asked for our help. It is Hungary. It's Bulgaria, Italy, and Spain, and I know there will be some intervention from Slovakia as well. Well, the fact is that we work, we do not work proactively. We work when an association asks for our help. So 4 or 5 resolutions tomorrow does not mean that the situation in Europe is okay. It only shows us that 4 or 5 associations has asked for the help. But when it comes to Poland, we have been particularly active during the last 8 years, and I can thank my 2 predecessors, Jose and Doro, for that, and you, Christian, because without, as I said, we are not proactive, without an ask or from Justitia, we would not have been on the scene. But we have actually supported this. I will not repeat all this because the reason why I should repeat this is because I can thank other people than me for that, because what has been done. But of course we have the March, the prize to you, Christian, the many meetings and letters, the involvement with the European Parliament, the European Commission, the close relationship to OCE, ODIHR, the cooperation with special rapporteurs, and with the ENCJ when they suspended Poland from the good company. So I think it's about time to stop, because I will not bore you with all my reflections, because most has been said before. But having heard, especially the Prime Minister, and having heard the conference today about all the initiatives you have in the pipeline, I'm optimistic, though you have obstacles and struggles to fight with. So I think this is, just like I said in my written speech, that the most important event for me was the March. I will see the second most important is the meeting today, because I think in one way we had the dark hour and now we have the bright hour. So I think it's a nice balance. So thank you for organizing this meeting. Thank you for inviting all of us, and have a good time, all of you.
As you can see, my tablet is gone, which means that we've run out of speakers. So this is the end of day one of the EAJ meeting in Warsaw. It was great pleasure and honor to have you here, to be able to listen to the Minister of Justice of the Polish government. And tomorrow, enjoy your evening in Warsaw. Just remember to report at 9 at next hotel in the conference room for the meeting of the EAJ. Thank you very much.